we had one of our quarterly branded thought leader immersion workshop events. And one of the things we do there as part of creating great energy is we have people share their wins. So she got up and she got on stage, she started to bawl, cry. And I just looked at her and I said, did I do something wrong? Why is she crying? You know, and that's that's where I go. So if someone's crying around me, did I do something wrong? Like, and she just said, Nicky, you didn't know this, but when you and your son came to meet me and my son, who he was a little kid at the time, I think he was 12 years old, asked me, Mommy, who are we going to go meet? Because she said, hey, we're going to go for lunch. She said, oh, we're going to meet Nicky Billou and his son. And he went to his mom and he said, Mom, are we going to meet the man who saved our family? We both hugged. And she said, you didn't know this, but when I came to meet you, we were on the verge of losing our house. I hadn't made money in 18 months. My husband hadn't made a lot of money. We were losing our home. We were going to be homeless on the street. You literally saved our family.
The Thomas Green podcast is owned and made possible by Ethical Marketing Service. If your business is struggling with Google or Facebook ads, maybe you're frustrated figuring it out or there's a performance issue, Ethical Marketing Service has worked on hundreds of accounts and we can help in this area. We offer a 30-day money-back guarantee, and for every direct account we look after, we sponsor a child in a developing nation with food, water and education. If you would like to find out if we can help, it's a free, no salesy consultation call, and the link is in the description. Enjoy the episode. Thomas Green here with Ethical Marketing Service. On the episode today, we have Nicky Billou. Nicky, welcome.
Thomas, it's an honor to be here, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
It is an honor to have you. Would you like to take a moment and tell the audience a bit about yourself and what you do?
100%. I am an immigrant to Canada from Iran. My family are Christians, and when the Islamic Revolution happened in Iran, my father, my late father, was a great man, decided that, being Christians in a theocratic state wasn't the best idea for his family. He moved us to the Free West. I've been forever grateful to my father for being farsighted enough to make that happen. My father was my hero. He was an entrepreneur. He used to tell me growing up, do you know, son, that this week we fed 51 families, ours and the 50 employees that he had working for him. He's a very proud man. And everyone who ever met Napoleon Billou, and that was his name, he had a great first name, Napoleon, said that this is a man who lifted people up. This is a man who if you knew him, he was going to make your life better just by knowing him. And I thought to myself, entrepreneurs must be the greatest people in the world because my dad's an entrepreneur and he's my hero. So I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always admired entrepreneurs. I did a lot of reading and studying in school. I read the works of Ayn Rand, her magisterial books, Atlas Shrugs, and The Fountainhead, as well as some of her other books like Anthem and We the Living. Spectacular writer that really articulated the case for free market capitalism in a brilliant and beautiful way. And myself, I just saw that unlike what the news media says about entrepreneurs and business people, these were problem solvers. These were people that came forward and looked for ways to bring solutions to the thorniest problems we all face. Because what is business after all but the solving of acute problems that people in society face for a profit? Right? And that's really, at the end of the day, what business is and what business always has been and always will be. And, I just have felt to myself that every entrepreneur with a dream, every entrepreneur with a passion to make a difference, who wants to make the world a better place, is somebody that I admire, is somebody who has the courage to get past the naysayers and make good things happen. And today, my favorite entrepreneur is a living entrepreneur is Elon Musk. My favorite entrepreneur of all time is Steve Jobs. My vision is I'm looking to help the entrepreneur. I'm looking to help the men and women, the good-hearted people that want to make a difference. We're not talking about people like cartel drug dealers or folks like that. Those aren't the kind of entrepreneurs we're talking about here. We're talking about the good men and women who want to, in an ethical way, make the world a better place. I'm all about that, and I'm proud to say that I've worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs, and we got a pretty great track record. We've helped 11 of them add anywhere from 1 million to 38.5 million to their annual income. We've helped another 60 odd add anywhere between $100,000 and $500,000 a year to their income. That's what juices me. That's what makes me excited. I've also written 7 books. A couple of them have been #1 international bestsellers. And I host a couple of podcasts. I host a podcast for thought leaders. I have people like Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen, John Maxwell on there, as well as Marie Forleo. And I also have a podcast for men that it's not a business podcast at all. It deals with men's issues and how to be a better man and navigate the world of the 21st century. That, in a nutshell, is Nicky Billou.
It's a great introduction. Thank you for sharing. I don't know what to ask you about first, if I'm honest, because there's so much good stuff there. Of all the things I could ask you about, what do you prefer to discuss?
Hey, Thomas, I'm happy to follow your lead, but I'll tell you this. One of the things that I think today every entrepreneur needs to be aware of is that we're living in a time where you and your courage are needed more than ever. Your desire to build something for yourself is what's making the world a better place. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're feeling discouraged, I want to give you some encouragement. Or if you're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, maybe what's going on in the world is scaring you, you're thinking there's too much chaos, I want to encourage you to say, hey, this is good. One of my mentors is a man named Brian Scudamore. He founded 1-800-GOT-JUNK, which is a multi-billion-dollar brand. He made millions out of junk, which is, pretty amazing stuff. And he said entrepreneurs thrive on chaos. So we're living in chaotic times. This is an opportunity better than any other time in history. You can win if you have the right mindset, the right attitude, and the right support. I think it's very important for every entrepreneur not to try to do everything alone. That's the entrepreneur's dilemma. They try to do it all themselves. And it's not the right way to go forward. You need to have a good team. You need to have the right mentors. You need to have coaches. You need to be part of peer groups. All those things are super important for you to do as an entrepreneur.
Well, thank you for that. I've got all the things lined up in my head of the things that you talked about in your introduction. For whatever reason, I'm interested to know what you learned from Atlas Shrugged, Ayn Rand. I have watched some interviews from Ayn Rand, but I actually haven't read the books. So in terms of what you learn, can you also share what you've used that's been useful in your business endeavors?
Well, first of all, you got to go read Ayn Rand's books, man. You won't be able to put them down once you start reading them. And I recommend that you read The Fountainhead first, then you read Atlas Shrugged, in that order. Okay. If you have the other books that Ayn Rand has written, some of her smaller books like Anthem and We the Living, and Capitalism, A New Ideal, and all those kinds of books, you can read those in any order you want. But Fountainhead first, and then Atlas Shrugged. They're both big, thick books, but you're absolutely going to love them. The Fountainhead was made into a movie in the 50s, starring the late, great Gary Cooper. And I got to say, it's one of the greatest movies of all time. But here's the core of the philosophy of Ayn Rand as an author is that she believed in the magisterial greatness of the individual, and she was utterly opposed to the collective crushing that. And I believe in that because, the work that I do is very much focused on helping people develop very powerful personal brands. So the individual is very important to me. I think that the state and the collective wants to crush the individuality out of us, wants us all to be conformists. Well, that's not what freedom's all about. Freedom's all about you as an individual and allowing you to express yourself, allowing you to build a life of your own choosing and your own creation. Well, I teach that with the personal branding work that I do. I help people go deep into their own experience, into what they've done, pull out the stuff there that they've learned as a result of the triumphs, the tragedies that they've gone through, and then utilize that to develop IP and take that IP and commercialize it, monetize it so that you get paid. And not only do you get paid, but you get paid big. That's what I teach people how to do. That's what I've done for myself. And I believe that Ayn Rand has it right, has always had it right, because she understands and understood, because she's passed away now, of course, that the planet is composed of individuals. Yes, collective thinking and action has its place, but it cannot come at the expense of individual freedom, individual expression, and the glory and creativity that the mind of a single individual can create. A single individual with a brilliant idea can change the world. We've seen that time and time again. You've ever watched Apple's ad that they put together called Think Different when Steve Jobs came back from exile to lead the company? It starts off something like this. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the visionaries, the round pegs and the square holes. And then you've got like video footage of people like Nelson Mandela and Richard Branson and Amelia Earhart. And you see these people. These were all individuals. These were people with dreams that everyone said were crazy. Can you imagine if collective thinking had stopped these people, where our world would be? Because these are the people, these individuals, they're the ones that move the human race forward. And I'm all about moving the human race forward through unleashing the power and the majesty of the individual and their power that they can create by having this incredible personal brand, this incredible knowledge that they have that puts them out there and turns them into icons.
Well, you mentioned Steve Jobs as another person who, let's say, inspired you. What do you say you've learned from him?
The biggest thing I learned from Steve Jobs is that your why matters more than anything. It's not what you're selling or any of that stuff. It's why you're doing it. Simon Sinek said, people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do what you do. And Steve Jobs was brilliant articulating that. Apple was a company that Steve Jobs envisioned was all about being a force for good because they were inspired by those brilliant individualists, those iconoclasts, those icons. And Apple was a company that stood for unleashing that in every individual. And it's become the biggest, most valuable company in history as a result.
Would you mind sharing your why?
Absolutely. Well, my why is very straightforward. I believe in the entrepreneur. I believe in the individual. I believe in the mastery, the majesty, and the magisterialness of their dreams. I think every human being who's in business has this incredible, fantastic dream. And I want to help them unleash it to the greatest extent possible. I want them to make the most money, to have the biggest impact, to have the biggest influence that they possibly could have. I want them to achieve their greatness at a level that they can never, ever imagine, except in their wildest dreams. And let me make no mistake about it, as a good capitalist, I want them to get paid. I really get excited when people make a lot more money. That makes me happy.
One of the questions that I had lined up beforehand is how you can add, I think it's $20,000 to $30,000 this year just through some advice. So would you mind sharing what that is?
Absolutely.
Because I'm interested.
Number one is, Thomas, you can't look and sound like everybody else. You gotta be different. You just gotta be different. Because if you're stuck in that sea of sameness, as the great Dr. Nito Kubain says, you are not going to go anywhere. You got to be an oasis of differentiation. So that's the first thing. So you got to find a way to not sound like everybody else. Number two is you got to understand that you're in business. You're in business. It's wonderful to do podcasts. I love podcasts. I do them myself. I come on shows like this. But podcasts are an adjunct to your activity to create business. And business is about solving acute problems for people at a profit. Acute problems for people at a profit. If you're not thinking about doing that every day, you're not in business. You want to make $20,000 hell this year, this month. Go find some people that are facing acute problems and offer to solve it for them at a profit, which means ask if they want to do business with you. So for example, Thomas, if you came to me, the problem I solve, the acute problem I solve for a lot of the people, the coaches, consultants, and experts that I speak to is they don't make enough money. They're stuck on an income plateau. If you came to me and you said to me, Nicky, I need to make more money. I've been stuck at this plateau for 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, 2 years, whatever the number is, and I got to get off of it. All right. I would ask you a few questions. I'd say, hey, Thomas, why do you want to get off of it? And then you'd answer me. And then I'd say, what's prevented you from getting off of it so far? And you'd answer me. And then I would say to you, all right, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it for you to get off of it right now? And I'd want you to answer that question honestly, because a lot of people automatically say, oh, it's a 10, but it's really not a 10. It's not a 10. There's a lot of things getting in the way of that thinking. So I get to the heart of that matter. If they're a 10, then I'm going to tell them very straightforwardly, this is how I can help you. And I put together a program. I've got a program I do called, the Branded Thought Leader Immersion Workshop. And it's 3 days where we show you how you can create a very powerful personal brand and get out there and start selling to people. And I'd say, Thomas, you need to do this program. This program is going to give you all the tools you need to know and have in your toolkit so that you can get out there. But the last thing I'd say to you is you've got to get in front of people who need what you have to offer, who have the problems that you have. And if you're not doing that and you're not asking for the sale, you're never going to make any more money. And that's the truth. And if people listening to this episode get one thing from this conversation, and that one thing was this, business is business, and you got to get in front of people, you got to solve problems for them, you got to ask for the sale, I've done my job. They'll make 30 grand from that in a single month. You could have one conversation to make a $30,000 sale just from this.
Thank you for that. The other person that you mentioned in your introduction was Elon Musk. Very in the news of late. What would you say you've learned from Elon?
Well, first of all, never bet against Elon. That's what I've learned. Never, ever, ever bet against Elon. Always bet for Elon and on Elon, because if you do that, you're going to prosper. And if you don't, you won't. This guy is the richest businessman in history right now. There's a reason for that. He's a far-sighted entrepreneur. And I think if he's got a company, you should invest in his company. And I think if he's, sharing his insights on where he thinks the world is going and where he thinks business is going, you should listen. There's a reason he's the richest man in history. So that's number one. Second thing that I've learned from Elon is a master at standing out. In fact, it's interesting that you should mention him, because part of our personal branding is we want to help people be Elon Musk in their space. What does that mean? That means you're known for something. So it's important to be known for something. What's Elon known for? Well, you tell me, Thomas, what's Elon known for in business?
Tesla and SpaceX.
Right. And what do Tesla and SpaceX stand for?
Tesla is about electric cars or pushing electric cars to tackle the climate change issue. And SpaceX is multiplanetary species, so that we don't sort of die on Earth.
Right. So that's true as far as it goes. But I'd say that his why is even stronger and more visceral than that for both of those companies. So for Tesla, Elon imagines a future where there's no need to use fossil fuels ever again. Now, whether you agree with that vision or not, it's a very compelling vision. And Elon says, I imagine a world where energy is being used from sources that in no way pollute the planet. Now, a lot of people argue that, producing electricity for those cars, it does pollute the planet as well. But Elon would argue it pollutes the planet far less than using fossil fuels. Who's right? Who's wrong? I don't know. I do know the vision is very compelling. And people go, oh my God, imagine a future where, we don't have to pollute the planet to drive and get around in any way, shape, or form. Pretty cool, compelling message that he's got there. SpaceX, yeah. You know what? Life on Earth could be finite. We need to find new horizons. We need to find new paths, new places to go. So that's what SpaceX is all about. And that captures the imagination of everybody with a dream. Wow, cool. Could there be life off planet Earth? It's pretty darn cool stuff. And that's why people buy Teslas. People want to work for Elon Musk, even though he'll pay them like half or a third of what other people will go, but they line up to work for him. And that's why investors throw money at the man. He's a branded thought leader in his space. Now, imagine if you were a branded thought leader in your space. Imagine if you were well-known, professionally famous it were. You'd have people lining up to want to work with you, and you'd also have people that would be interested in buying your products and services. And if ever there was a need to invest, you could probably attract investors that way too. To me, that's the most important thing that Elon Musk has contributed to my thinking. And I believe to the thinking of every businessman who's got the sense to be able to look at this. And so part of what I teach people is I teach them, you want to become Elon Musk of your space? I got a way to help you do that, because if you become the Elon Musk of your space, you can easily add $20,000, $30,000 to your income this year. Heck, you can add $100,000 to your income this year, or even $250,000 to your income this year. But more importantly, if you do this over a period of time, Tony Robbins said that you you overestimate how much you can achieve in a year. You underestimate how much you can achieve in 5 years. So maybe this year you make an extra 50 grand, but maybe in 5 years you're up to $500,000 a year. And as a solopreneur, that's a wonderful amount of income.
Agreed. Well, the last person I want to talk to you about from your introduction is your dad, because you said that he inspired you to, let's say, be an entrepreneur. At what point do you start your entrepreneurial journey?
Well, I had it in my mind to become an entrepreneur when I was in school, but I didn't do it. I got into working in corporate, and I was in my early 30s when I finally took the plunge and became an entrepreneur. And the last corporate job I had was with a dotcom company that became a dot bomb and went bankrupt. And that kind of forced me to become an entrepreneur. And, I've never looked back. It's a beautiful thing. God intended for me to be on this journey. And I believe that. I believe that's why, the last company I worked with went bankrupt. And it's been a wonderful journey ever since. That was back in 2001. So I've been in the journey of entrepreneurship ever since.
So when your employer at the time, when they had difficulties in the dot-com bust, what was that feeling like, and what did you do?
Oh, I was terrified, man. It was absolutely terrifying at the time. What I did is I tried to get another job, but there were no jobs to be had. So I had to start doing my own thing.
So what did you do?
I started off as a fitness trainer and a fitness coach. And I did that for a number of years. I became partners with a couple of Olympic gold medalists. We actually created some programs, wrote some books. It was wonderful. The name of that company was Transform, TRANZ4M.com. Wonderful company. And these gentlemen were spectacular athletes and really had some great knowledge. But the idea was good, but it was ahead of its time. It didn't pan out. Then I went off on my own for a while. And then I got into the world of being a business coach, business advisor. I was going through a divorce at the time. I was watching a fella do a talk, and it just made a lot of sense to me. I walked over to him. I said, "Hey, I really like what you said. I think I'd like to work with you." And I was defeated then. It was a horrible time in my life going through a divorce. And this fella looked at me and said, "Okay, but I charge $5,000 for 5 hours of coaching. And there's no refunds." And to me, that was all the money in the world at that time. I didn't have it, right? I mean, right now, it'd be no problem. But back then, it was a huge problem. And I said, "I don't have that kind of money." He said, "I know. I'm going to give you some advice, kid." Kid. He wasn't much older than I was, but I was a kid to him. He said, "Doesn't matter how much money you have. It matters how resourceful you're prepared to be. If you really want change, you'll figure this out." So I said, "Okay, give me a couple of days." And I went out to some people I'd been in discussions with about doing some fitness coaching. And I told them, "Hey, I got good news. I need money. So I'm going to give you the deal of the century, half price. But the deal expires at the end of this call. And you need to send me the money right away. Are you in, you out?" And 2 people said they were in. And that was all she wrote. I hired this guy. And within 4 months of working with him, I was making 6 figures in 4 months. It was the most money I'd ever seen in that short a period of time. And he taught me that I had something to share with people. And he said, "You should get out there and you should help people." And so I did. I wrote a book, it ended up becoming #1 international bestseller, which was super cool. And as a result of that, I got to meet some more people, and I got involved in the business of personal branding and thought leadership. And it's just been very gratifying. It's been a lot of fun.
It's an amazing story. There's lots to ask you about just in that alone. Because I must admit, I didn't see it going that way. I thought that you were going to take a different route rather than take him up on his offer. But presumably, the value was there in exchange for the fee that you paid. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, buddy. But you got to understand, I did not have that money. Period. I did not have it. And this is what I say to people. Robin Sharma, the author of The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, taught me this. He used to be a fitness client of mine, and then I became a client of his in the business side. He said, if you ever want to double your income in any given year, you got to minimum triple your investment in personal and professional development. And I asked him, what if you don't have the money? He said, it's an investment. And that's what businesses do. They invest. And the most important asset in your business is you. You got to invest in yourself. If you're unwilling to invest in yourself, you're screwed. So for these people who are like, oh my God, 5,000, 10,000, I can't ever spend that. You're an idiot. No offense, but you're a complete idiot. Come up with the money. Invest in yourself. If you don't invest in yourself, you're screwed. You're screwed. You're never going to get better. The asset you have to improve is you. And if you suck as a business person, if you suck at selling, if you suck at promoting yourself, guess what? You must come up with some money. You must invest in yourself, and you got to do it. There is no other way. It will not improve. You're not going to listen to a podcast and magically make 100 grand. I'm sorry. It doesn't work that way. You're not going to read a book and magically make 100 grand. It doesn't work that way either. All the information you need is in a podcast or in a book. But you know why people don't make money from listening to podcasts and reading books? Well, because it was free and near free. And guess how much they value information they get for free and near free? They value it at what they paid for it. That's the facts. But information that they paid for dearly, trust me, they're going to make sure they get a return. I paid this guy $5,000. To me, $5,000 right now is nothing. $5,000 then was all the money in the world. I was so on point to get a return on that investment. I was committed. I was focused. Focused. That's what allowed me to win.
Well, it touches on something which I was going to ask you about, and that is the charlatan marketer.
Yes.
How can you avoid him or her? And I guess the question ties into, how would you know necessarily whether that person is going to deliver on that type of promise, if you like?
Well, I would hope that in this day and age, you're good at, using Google and DuckDuckGo and those kinds of search engines to go check out the person you're talking to, and then go see if you can even talk to some people that actually did business with them, not some written testimonial on a webpage, but real human beings. That's pretty straightforward and simple. A person will have a reputation, number one. And number two is, you ought to, like, I'm a man of faith, so I believe in prayer. I think God guides me. So I pray on things. And if God is telling me this is a good idea, I'll do it. And if God's telling me it's a bad idea, I won't do it. But maybe you're not a person of faith. And if that's not the way you want to go, then you've got to find a way to go and make sure that this person's for real. Okay? Because if you are going to spend $10,000 on somebody and they're not for real, that's a problem. But here's the truth, okay? I hate to say this, but it's the truth. Most of the programs, even by the biggest names in the industry, you're lucky if 5% of the people who do those programs get results. You're lucky. 5%, right? Like, these are the biggest names in the industry. And I've done their courses and I love them, but there's a reason for that. Reason number one is some of the material could be outdated. Reason number two is there's not really a structure for you to get into action around it. They just teach you a bunch of information. The reason number three is, well, they could just suck at what they're doing. So what they're teaching you is the wrong stuff. Now, what we teach, the way we do it, we learned from a guy out of Australia named Matt Church. Matt Church has 83% of the people who do his program over a 20-year period have gotten anywhere between $250,000 and $2.5 million in extra revenue. And those numbers spoke to me. That's why I ended up doing some programs with Matt Church's organization. And I wanted to be like Matt, and I wanted to help people become successful. So I really took a lot of time to make sure that the people in our community were successful. When I do pitches at our events, I'm not the one doing the pitching. I bring people up from the community and say, hey, Valerie, nice to have you up here. Tell your story. So she gets up, she tells her story. I was in this place when I was coming. I was doing well. I was doing 6 figures, blah, blah, blah. But I wasn't doing what I wanted to be doing, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so, what'd you learn from us? Well, what I learned from you guys was how to brand myself, and I branded myself in this way, and this way. Oh, cool. And what were the results? Well, the results were I've 6-folded my income, blah, 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 blah. You follow what I'm saying? Me doing that allows me to come across as not a charlatan because, yeah, I do some selling, and at the event, I'm the one who will ask for the sale, but I have my people sing my praises. I don't sing my praises. That's powerful. It's very powerful. And if you got people that are in business and they've got people singing their praises, it's good. And then you got to see, are their methods correct? Now, in this industry, there's a lot of people today that do not ever want to spend one thin dime, not a penny, on selling. They don't want to sell. They don't want to learn how to sell. They just want magically the sales to come. So they want to do online marketing. Yay. Let's do social media and online marketing. That's how we'll get sales. Wrong. That's not how it's going to happen. You're going to get sales, Thomas, when you get in front of people and you ask for those sales. Even the great Tony Robbins, he is asking for the sale. Now, he's got a big enough name that people will go online and they'll buy from him, but he's got a team of people that sell on his behalf. And those people outsell the internet by a country mile. Why? People want that person-to-person comfort. They want to hear your voice. They want to look you in the eye, even if it's on, a platform like Riverside or Zoom. And they want to go, okay, I feel good. I trust this fellow. Let's go. That's the way it's got to be. And charlatan marketers, they're going to be really good at pushing every button you have. They're going to be really good at selling you a dream. Like one of the ones sold this thing called omnipresence. And I'm going, okay, what does that even mean? That means you're everywhere all at once. I'm like, okay, how's that going to help me actually make sense? Well, everyone's going to know you. Okay, it's good that everyone knows you. The right people know you better. And if they just know me, that's not valuable. If they know me as someone who can solve a problem that they have, now that's valuable. So a charlatan marketer will not offer you an outcome. They will not be outcome driven. They won't speak in ways that make sense. They'll just hit your emotional buttons. I got a dear friend of mine, and he's a good guy, and his programs are really great. But the way he sells is a little charlatan marketer-ish. And he talks about, you got to have this. You got to have that, or else nothing's going to work for you. And he just lines up 4 or 5 reasons why not having this, we'll just say for the sake of argument, a podcast. Okay, you don't have a podcast. You're a loser. No one's going to want to do business with you. Forget it. Well, is that really true? It's not true. There's plenty of people without podcasts that do well. Now, can podcasts help and accelerate your business? 100%. They've done great things for me, millions of dollars because of having my own podcast and being on other people's podcasts. We are absolutely fans of podcasts. But to sell a podcast to somebody based on them needing it and without it, their life is over, it's bullshit. Some people, it's too early in business for them to have a podcast. They don't have a good message. They haven't lined up their ideal target market. They just want to talk. Okay, if that's what you want to do, great. But if you're having a podcast to drive business, you better be clear on who your target market is. You better have a good message that speaks to an acute problem that they have. That's it. Pure and simple. If you're not doing that, you're screwed.
Great answer. The last thing I was going to talk to you about regarding your conversation with your consultant or coach was that in theory, you could have spoken to your customers at the time and made that offer and gotten that 5,000, if you will, at any point. But because you were outcome orientated and you wanted to generate that revenue, that's when you did it and that's when you got the money. Have you used that scenario or outcome driven approach from learning from that particular story?
Well, listen, I've been talking to these guys for weeks and they hadn't gotten off the dime to make a decision. I just gave them an incentive to make a decision. And I absolutely do that with people. Let me just put it to you this way. Let's say you and I were having that discussion, right? Let's say you're like, hey, Nicky, I want to make an extra 50 grand this year. And I said, all right, Thomas, why? And we got to the bottom of that. And I said, okay, we can help you. Here's the deal. We've got a program coming up in July. You can participate in this program. You can fly to Canada or you can do it over Zoom, either way. And the program will give you X, Y, and Z, and you'll have all the tools you need to make an extra 50 grand this year. And you'll go, okay, Nicky, that sounds great. Well, you know what? let me think about it. I have two choices if you say, let me think about it. Choice number one is, okay, think about it. No problem. Get back to me whenever, right? And choice number two is to just look you in the eye and go, Thomas, really, you need to think about it. All right. What is there to think about? And I'd be just blunt. What is there to think about? I just say this to you. I'd say there are three options. There are three reasons people say they want to think about something. One is they genuinely need more information. If that's the case, let's keep talking until you have all the information you need to make a decision. Secondly, they're scared and they put off making a decision because there's a dollar amount that scares them that needs to be paid. And they're like, oh my God, what if it doesn't work out? What if, right? And third is they really want to say no, but they don't have the balls to say no to your face. Those are the only three things that are happening right there. They really don't have enough information, which, I should give them till they have enough information. They're driven by fear, and I should either help them get over their fear or let them see that their fear is driving the bus, not they, or they don't have the balls to tell me no to my face. I would rather hear the no than have to follow up with you. 1,000%. I do not like following up with people. It is a waste of time. It is a waste of energy for me and for them. Energetically, we're in this messed up kind of movement that is kind of just fizzles. If you're a no, you're better off just saying, you know what? Thanks for your time. This isn't a fit for me. I'm a no. And momentarily, I may go, oh, that's too bad. But I'm also feeling relieved because I have a straight answer. And I'll just tell you, hey, Thomas, I appreciate it. Would you mind I'm not going to try to convince you otherwise, but I just want to know for my own edification why you were a no. If you're gracious enough to tell me, that'll help me. Either you were the wrong client or I gave you the wrong information, whatever. It's good. It's good to know why a person's a no. But if you're driven by fear, then my job as your coach, even before you hire me, is to help you see you're driven by fear and ask you if you want to be driven by fear, you want to be driven by your dreams. Don't let your fear choke out your dreams is one of the things I tell people all the time. Because fear will choke out your dreams. And then we'll either get you to a space where you're going to go, nope, screw it, I ain't doing it, which means you become a no, or you get past your fear and you go, you know what, you're right. My fear is choking out my dreams. Screw that. I'm going for it. So that's also a good outcome. And then the final one, you don't have the balls to tell me no. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man, just tell me no. Tell me no. Let's make it easy for both of us. You know what I'm saying? Let's not be one of these people that just drag shit on and on and on and on and on and on. Get the information to make a decision. Say no if you mean no. And if you're scared, either stop being scared and go for it, or be honest that you're being scared and say no. And to me, that's a way better answer than let me think about it. Another answer people love to give you is, I got to talk to my wife. I got to talk to my husband. I got to talk to my dead ancestor and have a seance with them and see what, their spirit thinks about this. Or I got to talk to my business partner. Now, if their spouse is a part of their business, then yes, it's probably good that you understand that up front and you ask them if they want to, have that person be a part of the conversation, because otherwise the decision won't get made, right? But if the person is not part of their business, well, they're lying to you. They're lying to you because they don't need to talk to their spouse. They make decisions without their spouse all the time. They've bought, multi-$1,000 purchases. Hey, I just bought this new car, honey. Hey, honey, I just bought this mink coat for you. Hey, honey, I just bought us a $10,000 vacation to the Turks and Caicos. So it's a lie. They don't need to talk to their partner. They're using it because they want to deflect making a decision, or they want to say no and they don't have the balls to say no to you again. And again, here's what I'll tell somebody who's saying that to me. I go, listen, is your spouse in your business? Yes or no? No? Yes? Okay. My mistake. Let's get them on a call. I'm withdrawing the offer until I speak to them and I decide if I want to work with both of you. Because I like you. I gotta make sure I like your spouse. Maybe I won't. Maybe they won't like me. Either way, I need to interview your spouse before. So I'm withdrawing the offer to work with you. I'm not going to work with you until I speak with your spouse. That's number one. The other reason could be, they're just telling you because they don't want to say no to you. And again, I'll just say, look, I'm giving you full permission to be an adult and say no. You do not have to. In fact, if you really mean no, I'd prefer you say no now because I don't want to keep chasing you. I just don't. I hate chasing people. Most people will go, okay, yeah, you're right. I really meant no. And that's great. And then the final reason again is they're afraid. Once again, they're afraid. And they're using the spouse as an excuse to, not address their fear. And then I'll just have the conversation with them. I'll address their fear. What are you afraid of? You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, those are the discussions that need to be had with everybody. Now, there's going to be some people that are just going to respond badly to all this. And if they respond badly to all this, you got to dance with that and see if you can help make that happen. But if they also respond badly to all this, maybe not a good fit for your business. Business is important because they're not just interviewing you, you're interviewing them. Do I want to work with this person? Are they coachable? Are they fun to work with? Do they energize me? If your energy goes below an 8 out of 10 when you're working with a potential client, you shouldn't work with them. You shouldn't work with them.
I've heard it a presupposition to say that businesses should accept everyone. I think it is exactly as you say, which is you should choose your customers as much as they choose you, right?
Yeah, and Thomas, I choose my customers. I won't take somebody on just because they're in front of me. They got a pulse and a wallet, a credit card. Screw that. I make people millionaires, man. I make people an extra $100,000 to $500,000 this year. My talents are incredible. If someone meets Nicky Billou, they potentially hit the jackpot of the lottery. And the truth of the matter is that I'm not sure if me working with them is a lottery for me. I mean, it could be I'll make some cash, and I like cash. Don't get me wrong, but if they're an energy suck, if they're uncoachable, that's not good. I don't want that. I want people to get results. I want to feel good about the work I do with people. So, it's got to be a two-way street. They got to feel good about working with me, and I got to feel good about working with them. And you should be upfront with people and say, this is a two-way job interview right now. You're going to decide, do I like this guy? Do I want his help? And I'm going to decide, do I like this guy? Do I want to help him?
That's great advice. On the topic of advice, would you share perhaps what your best bit of business advice that your dad gave you?
Be humble. Be humble. You're not better or smarter than anybody. You may have a better skill set than they do in one particular area, but they have a better skill set than you in another area. So be humble.
Okay. I spoke to you beforehand about the near the end of the episode. I always like to ask what success means to you. So would you share what that is for you? Success
to me means having the people in my life that I love win and be able to spend time with them and celebrate those wins. And just be able to spend time.
So it's more about other people than it is for you.
I mean, I do well. There's, money's good, but money is just there for me to be able to serve my family, serve the people I love, be able to spend time with them, do things with them. It also is about other people, period. Like, I'm not super proud of how much money I've made. I've made good money. I'm super proud of all the people I've made rich. And one of my favorite stories is there was a woman who was the head of a major professional and personal development organization, it's Canadian arm. This organization had been around for right now 50 plus years. And she brought in a partner, and that partner and her clashed, and he ended up forcing her out. And when she came to see me, she was on the hunt for something. She worked with us, and in the first month, she made $10,000. In the second month, she made $12,000. In the third month, she made $18,000. In the fourth month, she made $62,200 in a single month. And her business took off from there. She did incredibly well. And she lived in the city of Ottawa, which is the capital city of Canada. I live in Toronto. It's about a 5-hour drive. My oldest son had a soccer tournament in Ottawa. And I drove him there, and I called her while I was there, and I said, hey, listen, my son and I were here. It's a soccer tourney. I know you have a son that's his age. How'd you like to grab him, have the two boys meet, and we could have lunch together on our way out of the city? She said, sure. So, we did that. The two boys hit it off. We had a nice chat for about an hour, hour and a half, and then I headed home. A few weeks later, we had one of our quarterly branded thought leader immersion workshop events. And one of the things we do there as part of creating great energy is we have people share their wins. So she got up and she got on stage. She started to bawl, cry. And I just looked at her and I said, did I do something wrong? Why is she crying? And that's that's where I go. So if someone's crying around me, did I do something wrong? And she just said, Nicky, you didn't know this, but when you and your son came to meet me and my son, who he was a little kid at the time, I think he was 12 years old, asked me, Mommy, who are we going to go meet? Because she said, hey, we're going to go for lunch. And she said, oh, we're going to meet Nicky Billou and his son. And he went to his mom and he said, Mom, are we going to meet the man who saved our family? And I just looked at her on stage and I started to bawl. Now you got to get, Thomas, I'm an old school masculine man. I don't cry. I don't cry in public. I cry with my family, but I don't cry in public, except at funerals. I started to bawl. We both hugged. And she said, you didn't know this, but when I came to meet you, we were on the verge of losing our house. I hadn't made money in 18 months. My husband hadn't made a lot of money. We were losing our home. We were going to be homeless on the street. You literally saved our family. And I just sat there, crying with her, and we both hugged and cried. And the room was electric. And here's the beauty of it. This was not scripted. Everyone there who was a prospect for what we did bought. Everyone bought. There was not one exception. And there were people who came into that room and told me, I'm coming to do your event and I know you have an upsell and I'm not buying. So don't try to sell me. They bought. They were the first people to buy. And they came and they bought because they said to me, because I talk about charlatan marketing. He says, you're not a charlatan. You really give a shit, don't you? And I go, yeah, I do. And I said, okay, I trust you. And you asked me my why, that's my why. I want more people to come to me that are feeling that desperate, that need someone that can believe in them, that can really help them. And I'm their guy. That's it.
It's an amazing story. Thank you very much for sharing it. If it's a lot of value today, and I really appreciate it. If people do want to connect with you, or perhaps hire you, where do they go?
So look, I'm all over social media, but the best thing to do is go to this link. It's ecircleacademy.com. That's the word circle, and then academy.com/appointment. Or if you just go to ecircleacademy.com, there's a button in the top right-hand corner and it says book a success call. Now, what's a success call? Success call is a super cool thing that I do with people where we basically go through a process of really understanding what your goals are, where you want to be and where you are, what the gap is. We're going to do powerful gap analysis, and I'm going to put together a blueprint for what it's going to take to get you from point A to point B. This call is absolutely complimentary. If they let me know that they came through your show, let's do that. Now, we ask that you fill out this application form just so we make sure you're actually in business. You're actually trying to do all this stuff. Plus, give me the information I need to prepare a good series of questions for you. But if you do this, I promise you, your life will never be the same. Your business will never be the same. This can completely transform your business and bring you to a space of magic and victory. So that's what I suggest people do.
Well, for everyone listening, please review the links in the description. Nicky, thanks again for your contribution and for being a great guest
Thomas,
today.
thanks for having me on. It's a real honor to be here, brother.